Chai 254. Imagine.
Welcome back and many thanks for staying with us. So we now want to move to this discussion, and I'm joined in by two lawyers. There's Moses Mutanda, who is a lawyer, and of course Kevin Dolo, who is also a lawyer. So tonight we're talking about the impact of President Uhuru Kenyatta's meeting to Raila Odinga, the opposition leader. And of course this meeting took place last week on Friday, and the meeting of course came with a number of reactions from Kenya's different parts of the country, and also from leaders of this two political divide. But just starting us off this conversation, we saw the president in that particular press briefing, and he mentioned something. He said that they want to start a process of bringing the country together. Of course, you're aware that from the August 8th elections, from the 26th October elections, there was quite a number of divisions, especially from supporters of these two divides. Now, just from your own views, do you think that bringing the country together will be an easy task for these leaders? Starting with you, Moses.
First of all, let me say I appreciate you hosting me.
Yes.
The impact of the meeting between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Honorable Raila Odinga is for the better of this country. It was about that time that they came together to unite the country. So will it be,
so of course, do you think it's going to be an easy task now for them to unite the country and to bring people back together?
It depends. If they're doing it in good faith, then
it will be
an easy task.
Okay,
but if there are any power brokers behind it, it might create some hitches here and there, but the two principles will decide the direction that those discussions are going to get.
Okay. So what do you think, Kevin? Will it be an easy task for these leaders, after the particular division that we really had last year during these elections? So now them coming together, and of course President Kenyatta saying that now they want to focus on bringing the country together. How easy will it be for these leaders to do that?
As to if it will be an easy task, we shall just wait and see. But we anticipate that it's going to be a workable move, because since August 8th, we had people from different social stratas. We had the religious leaders, we had people from Kotu, all in one voice saying that the two principals need to come together and sit down, because ideally they both have huge followings in the country, and so we anticipate that, because if each of them can sit and say, let's put Kenya before any of our interests, then we expect and anticipate that it's going to be a workable plan. Yes. All
right. So of course now we can't say that it's going to be easy or hard. It's just something that we need to wait and see how it unfolds.
Yes, because again, we know this politics, 24 hours in politics is a long time. So a lot of things can change even between today and tomorrow that may influence or affect the success of their coming together. Yeah, so as to if it's going to be easy, we cannot for sure say yes.
All right. So just moving forward with this discussion, we also saw the leader of opposition, Raila Odinga, of course, giving his sentiments during this meeting that they had on press last week. And part of what he said was that it was now time for them to put aside their entrenched differences and just try to come together and see how they can save this country. But when you think about it, do you think this coming together came a bit late? Shouldn't it have, come earlier? Because many lives were lost. People lost businesses during that particular time. So them coming together now, was it a bit late? Should them coming together being a bit early? What do you think, Kevin?
About them coming together a bit too late, I think it's better late than never. So and always half a bread is always better than half a bed is better than no bread at all. That they came together should be something good enough for us as Kenyans to celebrate, something good enough for us as Kenyans to appreciate, and not, we should not consider that so many things have happened. A lot of lives were lost, of course. A lot of businesses went to the ground. But that they have come together, we should now focus on what can come out of it, that they have come together. Yes.
All right. What do you think, Moses?
Oh, I don't think that the same has been overtaken by events. In that, in political agitations, people push and pull for different ideas. Before you come into striking a deal, someone will negotiate on his party, the principles, the aspirations that they have, and whatever they want to push forward. The other party too will have its position. So it takes time. These negotiations didn't just take a night and then they struck a deal. It took time. And the good thing about it taking time is that we are able to learn from the mistakes that we've made. It's time for national healing.
So it didn't come much later, it was just the perfect time?
I will say it came at the most appropriate time, since we've had 2 back-to-back elections.
Yes.
One was nullified, we went for another one, Mr. Odinga boycotted.
Yeah.
So we've had a divided nation.
Yeah.
It was about time that the two came together.
Come together.
Yeah, to show their supporters that, we are putting the nation forward, our interest behind.
Okay. And of course, Kevin, you look like you really agree with what Moses is saying, right?
Yes, I do agree.
All right. You want to say something?
No, let it pass. I think it's spent.
So of course, the president had his Big 4 agenda, and of course he said it on Jamhuri Day last year, and he also echoed it the beginning of this year in his New Year's message. And of course, part of his Big 4 agenda is to create jobs for the young people and also to ensure that there's healthcare, for Kenyans. Now that they've come together, do you think this is it going out, the Big 4 agenda, is it now going to be more of a reality, especially given the fact that Kenya, we are really in a big debt?
First of all,
that because these things need finances to to make them happen. So what do you think about that one?
I think because this is politics, each of the two leaders had their own mindsets. They had their own interests. They had their own goals in becoming, because both vied for presidency. So I think in as much as the president had his agenda, at the end of the day, Mr. Raila, I expect that is also coming with his own agenda. So I think if for them to work together, it will mean that there's going to be some give and take. And so we expect that even if not the 4 will be achieved, but we expect that also from the 4, at least Mr. Kenyatta is able to bring to the table that I have this agenda, but these are urgent.
Okay.
So we expect that also we are going to have an agenda from Mr. Raila.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. And of course, you're going to discuss, because when they came together, they also had like a joint agenda of what they want to, accomplish. And we'll be talking about that a bit later. But just coming back to you, Moses, the way Kevin is saying, the agenda it's like to prioritize which one comes first. When you look at the issue of jobs, it has really become a thing in this country, especially the young people seeking for jobs, and also healthcare services. And it has also seen quite a number of times the doctors going on strike, especially last year. What do you think this government should do to ensure that we don't experience that this year, at least, and also creation of jobs just becomes almost like a thing in the past? What can they do, especially now that they are together? So of course, exchanging of ideas and sharing of ideas. What do you think they can do to ensure that we can actually move past this?
I think two heads are better than one.
Okay.
All these guys who are vying for the presidency, they had different manifestos. Every one of them had a laid plan on how he's going to achieve his manifesto. So by sharing of ideas across board, they can work on how to implement a given particular idea to its full implementation. So I think by brainstorming by the two sides, it can lead to solving some of these issues. Because, when the opposition is of a different view from what the government is doing, no matter what the government does, whether good or bad, the opposition will never ever support it. So it's good that they're on the same table and they all have a positive mindset to what they want for the future of this nation.
So exactly what mechanisms can they put? Because of course they've been sitting almost all the time when the government comes up with new ideas, they of course sit and discuss and deliberate on issues. But do we just expect them to always sit, discuss and deliberate on issues, or what kind of action can they take to ensure that we can move past having a bigger percentage of young people not having jobs? And how can we move past people just getting good healthcare services, not just sitting and discussing issues? What do you think, Kevin?
I think it's important.
What actions can they put in place this time?
It's important that whatever the two gentlemen agree is cemented by the law, because at the end of it all, Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta is still the president of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Raila Odinga was sworn in as the people's president. The force of law is by all means in support of Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta. So we all know that the opposition do not have an upper hand in either house. So it's important that whatever agreement Mr. Raila and Mr. Kenyatta comes up with has to be cemented somehow in the law, so that it has a force of law, so that in that way we can know that implementation will take place. If it's an issue of job creation, then that particular thing has to be, in a way, be brought to the House, and then also the executive has to show from its side, it has to show genuine support for it, so that it pushes it through. Because if it is left for the whims of political desires, we know that the opposition in no way will it ever succeed in any of it, because both houses have an advantage of a majority win for the government. So I believe, and I strongly believe, that whatever decisions that they come up with has to be cemented somehow in the law. Yeah.
So for them to actually make it work?
Yes.
All right. So now we know that there were families lost, people lost their part of their family members last year. We also had businesses, people's businesses were lost. And of course, even up to now, there are some businesses that have not yet recovered to the point where they were previously. So do you think now, them coming together, they should look for ways in which these people can be compensated, or should they just move forward with their lives and look for ways in which they can, stand up on their feet again? What do you think about that one?
I'll say that
because people are still crying right now because of businesses and also exactly.
I'll say that political temperatures in a country will foster its economical development. It will foster how the citizens relate. It will foster the rule of law. So on the other side of business, actually business was down. Everybody, people didn't want to invest in business because they never knew the certainty of the political following that might come after. So people are reluctant. So when there is the political temperatures tone down like that, it means people are going to be willing to transact more business. And then talking about the lives that were lost, I would like to say that criminal responsibility in our laws is personal. So if you ever kill somebody, if you kill your neighbor because of a certain political position that you are holding, you can still be held liable for it, no matter which side of the divide you are doing it for. So for criminal responsibility on those people who are looting, the people who destroyed property, the policemen maybe who killed innocent protesters and stuff, those can be held personally liable, so that we can know the next time when you're having political agitation, you have you need to act within
so
the bounds.
So how can the government ensure that actually happens?
How the government can ensure that happens is we should have we should have an independent judiciary. On the other hand, Parliament should stop being a rubber stamping authority. Let things be done for the goodwill of the country. And then the national executive too should do things for the best interest of the country. Then we can foster our way forward.
And just coming back to your question, it's also an important fact to note that even some people are still displaced from the 2007-2008 post-election,
and nothing has been done.
So to imagine that something will be done about those people who lost property is really a daydreaming.
So it's close to impossible.
It's close to impossible because there's a reason why it's close to impossible. It's because we cannot apportion blame to anyone, because no one was arrested. There's no investigation going on. So really, because we cannot apportion blame to anyone, we cannot apportion liability for loss of property to anyone, then those people cannot be compensated, because it's not traceable to
who did what, to who, when, where.
It's not traceable. So for them, if someone was aggrieved and someone feels that they can get the matter, because we also have private prosecution. It's not a must that prosecution has to originate from the police. If someone feels that someone needs to get arrested for something, they can just report the matter to in the nearest police station and have them, let them take it up upon themselves.
So
but to wait for the government, to wait for the government to serikali ingililie kati, I think will be a bit hard.
So just coming to, of course, the two leaders had about 9 agendas, but we can just tackle 2 because of time. One of the things they want to tackle as 2 leaders is accountability of public offices and also securing the nation. But just to touch on this accountability of public offices, we know that in these public offices, there's a lot of misappropriation of funds, things like those ones. How can they ensure that now we can actually have a system and this system works? that we don't have funds being used everywhere and we don't know where this money is going. How can they, and that has really been a problem in this country, especially in these public offices and government offices, so much to speak. So how can these leaders ensure that now we do not have misappropriation of funds, that people become accountable in the offices that they've been put and systems actually begin to work?
I think we'll start with verification of every transaction that a particular government office has done.
Yeah.
And this verification, when somebody is being investigated for misusing public funds, the whole side should abstain from taking sides. Let him face the law. If he comes out clean that there is no money that was misappropriated, then let him declare that he didn't do anything wrong to amount to him being removed from office and facing any criminal prosecution. But either way, a person who misuses public funds, he has to be personally liable. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think the two gentlemen we will need to pray for the two gentlemen, because the problem that we are facing in Kenya is beyond.
For the two leaders? For
the two leaders.
Okay.
We need to pray for them, because the problems that we have in Kenya is beyond what they can give us as a direction, because corruption is a malady that eats us to the very core. So because those things do not begin in those public offices. Corruption begins at the very grassroots level. So at the end of the day, we have to really hope and pray, because we also know that it's also a legal fact that Mr. Raila Odinga is not a recognized office in the current constitution of Kenya. So we have to, in as much as there is some legal question as to if the People's Assembly is a constitutional body, but we have to know that as it is, Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta has an upper hand, because he is the president of the Republic of Kenya. So the rest, I will say, let's just pray for them and hope that whatever they discuss in their closed door meetings will help us as a nation.
All right.
I would like to respond to the issue that he has raised, that Mr. Raila Odinga is not recognized anywhere legally, which is a very correct position. However, the two gentlemen agreed to work together. The president has some constitutional powers to create an office, a public office, but however the same has to be done via recommendation from the Public Service Commission. So what the president needs to do is to talk to the Public Service Commission to establish an office, give it to Honorable Raila Odinga, let him run it, and then the two now can be meeting, exchanging ideas and doing this and that. But on the issue of him having any constitutional recognized powers, it depends on the goodwill of the president.
All right.
If they are doing things in good faith, then at the end of the day, Mr. Raila will have a constitutionally recognized office.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, just as we wind up, of course, we've been discussing about them coming together and uniting the country and for the goodwill of the people. But just to flip it a bit as we wind up, I'll just give you about 30 seconds to respond to this particular question. Do you think them coming together was really for the people, or there's some hidden personal interest? Starting with you, Moses.
I wouldn't be in a position to judge them, because I might not know what was done behind the closed doors. We only saw them coming to the media and addressing us.
Yes.
But hopefully these people taking a step back from their hard political stance they had took previously that led to this political agitation, I think maybe there might be some forces behind it that forced them to come and strike an agreement to work together for the well-being of this nation. And you know, Mr. Uhuru is President Uhuru Kenyatta is on his last term, so he'll want to leave a legacy behind. You don't want to finish 2 terms and then you're going away. You've left a country that is 50% divided. You will want to unite the country. So I think it is in good faith, and let's give it time and see.
So for you, you might not say if there's a hidden agenda, it's just in good faith.
I wouldn't say there's a hidden agenda, unless they prove me wrong. Yeah.
What do you think, Kevin?
First of all, I would like to begin by saying that Mr. Raila Odinga might not be having a constitutional body, but he is a constitutional force, because Mr. Raila Odinga has time and again proved that he can disrupt constitutional processes, including elections. But nonetheless, I would like to say that the two gentlemen are both politicians. So they, at the end of the day, they also have their political interests. So in as much as the PR will look good that they're doing this for the nation, they also have their
So there's
interests.
something.
There must be
There
something
must be
because we
something. So
know
you're
that
basically
NASA
Okay.
principals have worked together for a period of time,
Yes.
and then when they met with when Raila met with the president, we had Mudavadi complaining, we had Kalonzo complaining
Okay.
that they were not consulted and they were not notified.
Yes.
So Mr. Raila must also have his interest that he felt
Okay.
that they will be diluted by Mudavadi and
Yes.
Kalonzo.
All
So they
right.
also have their own interests, and they are free
Okay.
to have their own interests also.
I feel like Moses wants to respond, but I won't give him the chance because you're just finishing this discussion. But clearly what you're saying is bottom line that the country finally is going to be united. However, for Moses he thinks that it's just okay. These two leaders probably don't have a hidden agenda, but for you think both of them have some bit of personal interest.
Yes, especially for Raila. He always calculates his moves.
Very
Scandalo is
perfectly.
he's talking like a political
I will not
broker.
let you to respond because you're out of time. But then again, thank you so much for coming in, gentlemen.
Thank you for
We'll
hosting
be
us.
glad to have you some other times so we can just finish up this particular discussion.
Yes, please.
All right, and that's all we had for you in the program tonight. My name is Doreen Arange. Many thanks for watching. Join me again tomorrow night as we talk matters business. And of course, on behalf of me and the entire news team making this bulletin a success, we again say thank you so much for watching and good night.